Welcome to Keepin in a Hundo. Today's guest is EJ Manuel. I'm your host, Matty Hundo. I just got back from a trip to Northern Europe. I got to keep it a hundo with you. This episode was recorded a couple weeks ago before I left for Europe. I didn't have time to edit it before I left. But EJ's been on before, so I don't have too much to say for the intro. He's been on before as a guest. He's been on as a co-host. And now he's on to talk about what he's doing with his professional life, transitioning from NFL quarterback to college football analyst. Before we get to it, I want to mention I will probably be doing something about my trip. I went to Copenhagen for the first time. That was cool. Copenhagen definitely is a place I recommend. Ireland, not so much, but I'll talk about it on a podcast in the near future. But let's get to it. EJ Manuel's a very close friend of mine. He played 6 years in the NFL, played at Florida State. He was a dominant quarterback in the ACC. Well, he recently retired from the NFL, and he was hired by ESPN, who is launching the ACC network to cover all ACC sports starting August 22nd. EJ will be an in-studio college football analyst this season on the ACC network. I think it's a great move for EJ. I think he's going to excel in his role, and I feel confident that he'll have a long career on TV. So a couple weeks ago, EJ was down here in Miami staying with me, and we figured why not let him know what's going on in your world. So this is another conversation with EJ Manuel. So that was my first time at that facility. That shit was amazing.
It was. It was really nice.
Cool to see they got that down there because they never had stuff like that when I was there.
Yeah, well, I worked out there about 2 or 3 years ago when I actually was still living in Miami, and they didn't have an indoor facility. And obviously, with it being Miami and being hot and having the rain and all that, I'm sure that helps the entire program now, so guys can go in there and get in work whenever they want to.
I'm here with EJ Manuel. You've met him before. You've heard him on my podcast. He's back again. He's in Miami. We just got back from University of Miami, did a little tour of the football facilities. Thank you to London Wood, a.k.a. 50. He gave us a nice little tour. And EJ, tell him what you got going on and why you were down there and why you're here.
Yeah, sure. I just actually got in from Charlotte, North Carolina. The ACC Media Day kickoff took place yesterday, being on Wednesday and Thursday here in mid-July, coming up to the launch of the brand new ACC network, an ESPN affiliate station. Be sure to look into it. The ACC network will include obviously football, baseball, basketball, but all Olympic sports, track, swimming, softball, golf, all type of basically 24/7 sports from the ACC. So obviously not just games, but it's going to be a lot of stories of talking about what these young men and women are doing off the field and off the court.
ACC Network is launching August 22nd, I believe.
August 22nd, 7 p.m. I'll actually be a college football analyst for the show called The Huddle. Myself, Eric McClain, Jack Collinsworth, and Coach Mark Rick, who coached at Florida State, also at Miami the past year, I think past 2 years.
Yeah, he did a couple years at Miami.
Yep, and then obviously I think a lot of people know him from his days at Georgia. A great coach, man, great guy. So I'm super excited, man.
So we went down to the facilities and we ran into some players and some coaches and stuff, and I know you were hoping to, so you could do a little homework for the upcoming ACC football season.
Yeah, the main thing for me, man, is just to get down on the ground and try to, get a chance to obviously build my contact list. I've been playing in the NFL for the past 6 years, so I haven't necessarily been able to really spend time, learning the coaches, learning the players. But now that, I've retired and I'm all in as a college football analyst, for me, anytime I come to Miami, or say even if I go and visit, somewhere near Clemson or somewhere near Boston College, I'll try to reach out to somebody and see if I can make my way over to the campus to meet the coaches and bump into some players and just kind of get some intel and maybe some things that I could use during the season on TV.
Over at the facility, we saw some of the ex-UM guys working out, and Malik Rozier was there, and he was off and on the quarterback at UM for the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. I guess he's trying to get on with the Dolphins.
Right.
And then Njoku was catching passes. He's an animal.
Yep.
He had a younger brother walk in.
Yeah, it's huge.
Guys,
Huge.
wow. I wonder if he's going to be the talent that David is. But
Yeah, great player. Obviously, last year he had a great year for the Cleveland Browns, who I think a lot of people are choosing the Browns to be the leader in that division. And obviously they got a ton of talent, so it'll be interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised if David Njoku at some point becomes like the best tight end in the league.
I could see it.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's a lot of great tight ends that are now, dual threats. You got like guys like Travis Kelce that can line up and go against a DB. They can go against a linebacker because they're big enough. They can handle the size. They can go in the middle. They can block. They can run deep routes, vertical routes, comebacks. They can pretty much do everything. So I think Njoku is just as athletic as the rest of those guys.
Yeah. So going back to, you mentioned a few minutes ago that you retired. You retired just recently, a month or two ago.
Yep. So I was with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll actually give the whole story. So last year, I guess my last season with the Raiders, which was 2017.
The 17 football season.
And so that season was cool. Then 2018, re-signed with the Raiders in March. That's when John Gruden had took over. Obviously, Coach Gruden was somewhat cleaning house, and he ended up. Actually, I played well in the preseason, did well in the training camp.
You played really well.
Yeah,
I watched
thank you, bro.
all
Appreciate
your preseason games, and you were putting up numbers.
Yeah,
you were leading the team on scoring drives.
Yeah, thanks, man. I got a chance to start the last preseason game against Seattle, and I looked at that as an opportunity to kind of put the nail in the coffin, and not even make this a question as far as this being a competition. Although Connor's a great quarterback, I think he's still playing now. But
you were battling Connor Cook for the backup job.
Yep, exactly.
And so everyone's looking at it like, okay, who's playing better, EJ or Connor?
Right.
And I think it was clear that you were playing better. But the funny thing is what happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I think I made the 53. I actually played very well in that last preseason game, which is 2 days later. That's where they make the final cuts. Have a 53-man roster, and you start the season. Get ready for week 1.
Like threw for, I don't know, 250 yards in
I think
half a game or whatever it was, or
I think
3/4 of a game.
290 or 280 in 3 quarters.
Okay.
3 touchdown passes. It was crazy. Keon Hatcher had a great game. Saeed had a great game. Marcus Ayton, Pharaoh Brown, who's now with the Cleveland Browns. Those guys play well for me, man. And
so you're thinking if you ball out, hopefully you make the team, because that's
no doubt. Well,
the way it's set up is compete, play well.
Right.
You win
But
a
also
job.
think about the situation. So I'm playing with all rookies. I'm playing with a very young offensive line. I'm going into my 6th season. So, I'm looking at like, hey, I have to play well because, this being the 4th preseason game, 1, this is like my last audition for all 32 teams, not just the Raiders, but 2, coaches looking at like, hey, this is, they don't have their starters on Seattle playing, although they played, I think, their second team pretty much that first half, and we diced them up, played really well. And it was just pretty crazy. Like 2 days later, I thought I made the team, get a call from the assistant GM. I have to come in, and the GM at the time, Reggie McKenzie, sits me down, and they end up releasing me due to them trading for EJ Manuel, who had been with Buffalo during the preseason.
So the funny part of that is they decided to pay him $10 million, right?
Yeah, well, they took over the contract that he had previously signed that offseason with the Bills.
So he was already getting $10 million.
Yeah, AJ and I have the same agent, so it was even more awkward. You know what I mean? Like Todd, my agent, Todd France, had called me, and I was pretty shocked. He said, yeah, he said they're trading for AJ, which I was like, okay, kind of weird, but okay. And then he led on to say, but they're releasing us. And I was just like, wow, just kind of a blow to the stomach a little bit, and just didn't really see it coming. But that's life at the end of the day. That's the NFL. First off,
it just, to me, it didn't make a whole lot of financial sense signing a backup at that price when they could have kept you or Connor at a veteran minimum type.
At a minimum. So
yeah. So and to a guy who they ended up using 5 snaps this year or something.
Yeah.
Like it just
Derek played pretty much the entire year. I think AJ went in versus the Niners. But again, I mean, it's not AJ's fault. It's obviously Coach Gruden wanted to make that decision, and it cost me my job, and it cost me a season, because I got 2 workouts with the Redskins. I got another workout with the Niners during that offseason. And then also, a lot of people don't even know I had tore or tweaked my meniscus training. during that October, and so I just was trying to, obviously with a meniscus you can play with that, like MCL, ACL, PCL, LCL, all those other like CLs you can't really play with because the pain is so bad. Yeah. But with a meniscus you can kind of still get through, and you can still run on it, you can still push off of it. But I was in pain, and so I was telling myself like, hey, the season's almost over with. If you get signed, go out there and play. Try to get 3, 4, 5 games in, get another accredited season toward my pension. And that didn't happen. But the good thing is my business manager, Hundo Lukanga, got me a meeting with United Talent Agency, who then led me on to understand that the ACC network is coming out, which is, again, an affiliate of ESPN. And they felt like I would be a good fit to do, the TV role, whether it's calling games or being an analyst. And so the rest was history.
Before we get to the ESPN, ACC network stuff, can you talk a little bit about the process of being an unemployed quarterback during the NFL season,
right,
and you see a quarterback go down on another team?
Yeah, man.
And like hearing it from you is different than what I see. Like I just see on the news, hey, the Redskins lost another quarterback.
Right.
So-and-so broke his leg. Yep. Colt McCoy, I think, broke his leg.
Alex got hurt first, and then I went out for a workout, and then Colt McCoy ended up getting hurt a few weeks later. So first, when Alex got hurt, they flew me in for a workout. It was me, Mark Sanchez, TJ Yates, Josh Johnson, Kellen Clemens. I think that was it. And we all throw. I felt like I threw great, hit all my passes, probably went 30 for 30. Ended up not getting signed. And really, I thought I was going to get signed because of the Gruden thing. Coach John Gruden and Jay Gruden, I would assume, have the similar offense as far as the verbiage.
Your former coach,
and
John Gruden. Jay Gruden is a head coach with the Redskins.
Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm going to make the team, although I did say my knee was still hurt, but I knew I could still play. Nonetheless, a few weeks go by, they end up, actually from that workout, they kept Mark Sanchez. And so a few weeks go by, I'm watching the Redskins and Philly play at my boy Ja's house in LA with my boy Kevin. And we're watching the game, and we see, unfortunately, Colt go down with an ankle injury. And the next thing I know, my phone blows up probably like 15 minutes after that. Well, first it was my dad saying, hey, did you see Colt get hurt? And then literally right after that, my agent texted me saying, hey, the Skins are about to fly you in for a workout. Which I thought was kind of interesting because I'm like, well, I already worked out for him. You know what I mean? So why do I have to work out again? But nonetheless, they called me to set up a flight. And I'll never forget this. They called me, say it's, this LA time, so maybe 6:30 LA time. The game was on East Coast time, so probably
I believe
9,
it was
9:30.
like second half of the football game still.
Yeah.
Because I think I talked to you that night.
So I rush home, I start packing bags, I'm getting ready to fly out to DC for the next day to work out. And they call me back like 2 hours after that and more or less cancel. And they end up bringing in Josh Johnson. So by that time, man, I was like, wow. I was just kind of that's literally all I could really say was just wow. But, again, I never look at it like being a personal thing or anything like that. Just sometimes coaches, they have guys like, for example, Josh worked with Jay when he was in Tampa, so they knew him. And
didn't Sanchez have a relationship with the OC?
And Sanchez,
the offensive coordinator?
He knew the quarterback coach. So, again,
it makes sense. They need people to learn, process this information fast.
No doubt, exactly. And
learn the offense.
You come in off the street and they expect you to go out and practice that day. They probably felt more comfortable with those guys for whatever those reasons are. I don't know. But that's what happened. And, for me, it just kind of opened my eyes to start thinking big picture. And I've always done that anyways, always knowing that I can do something beyond just play football, And
you can only play football till about 35, 40
exactly,
anyway.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, got outliers like Tom and Peyton and those guys, they play until they're like 50 almost. But, even for myself.
What about George Blanda? You know about George Blanda?
How old is he?
He played till he was like 50.
Wow.
Like 48 or something.
Quarterback?
He was a quarterback and kicker.
I know that name, yeah. George Blanda, wow.
I think he's the oldest.
That's amazing.
Talkington played till he was like 45
to put
your
body through that and the mental and the physical strain that it puts on you. But nonetheless, for me, man, I knew I had an opportunity with the ACC network. At that time, I didn't have the job. But I did do an audition before that game happened. And I did tell them, like, hey, if I get an opportunity to go and play football, I'll take it. And they were completely cool with it. The whole process with ESPN or with the ACC network has been amazing. My producers are great. They're awesome. I'm super excited to be working with them now.
When they talk about, hey, so-and-so called up, I don't remember, like a Josh Johnson or somebody who gets called who's not playing football.
Right.
And it's like, he was sitting on his couch last week, and
literally.
Now, like, that's actually what's going on. That's what I'm trying to say.
So,
some guys aren't even working out every week.
Man, it's crazy.
Some guys are chilling.
There have been guys where I've gone on workouts, and you can tell they haven't thrown a ball or they haven't run or they haven't been doing anything. Like obviously with me in LA, I was working out at Exos every day. Shout out to my guy Tim. And I was doing a bunch of, everything. Throwing with Griff, one of my old teammates, Griff Whalen from the Raiders. He and I had both got released. And I think Griff had an injury too. That might have been why he got let go. But once he was healthy enough, we were out there working and throwing. Yeah, it's crazy. You literally go from watching the game at home with your friends to being on a plane, and the next week you're strapping up a helmet playing in the game. So it's pretty amazing.
That's crazy.
When they say stay healthy and be ready, they literally mean stay healthy and be ready because you can get caught at any moment.
When was the first interview you had with ESPN?
The first audition was in Austin at the Texas Longhorn Network. I think that was maybe November, maybe October. They flew me in, did obviously a practice interview of calling a game. They had a game queued up, and we went through like a quarter of just calling the game, and obviously me giving my stats, or giving my comments about, a play, or basically the stuff that Kirk Herbstreit does, for ESPN college football. And Kirk's one of the best, you know what I mean? So I did, study up and watch a couple of his games and just kind of listen to some of the things that he pointed out for the fans and stuff like that. And it went well, but I was more comfortable being more in studio, talking about highlights, watching the games, and then being able to come back to us in the studio and be able to say like, hey, maybe I would have did this, maybe I would have did that, instead of just being more firing, an answer as soon as something happens, live in action on the game.
Do you have any plans as far as where you want your path to go? Would you like to do games? Would you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to both. As a athlete, we always feel flexible that we can almost do anything. So I know with time and practice and just being around the microphone, being around the people, I'll get more adjusted to it. But, I did tell them, I told my producers when I was auditioning, they asked me, which one would you rather do? And I said, well, I would rather be in the studio.
Do you prefer the studio for the less traveling, or that's not an issue?
No, it's not the traveling. I love traveling. I think I just prefer it because it's a set location. You're not on the ground. And again, it's not like I'm calling or making an analysis right after a play. Mm-hmm. It's different. You
get time to break it down.
You get time to break things down. I can actually watch the game. I can watch multiple games actually on different TVs, whatever room they have us set up. Study what's going on, see the big picture of everything. So it's different. I think calling games is definitely a skill that takes work. You know what I mean? Like I said, Kirk Herbstreit makes it look like it's easy, but it's not.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time. Yeah. To take a guy like Romo who just jumped right in. I mean, the seamless transition he made was unbelievable.
True, but I've heard that Romo's really good friends with Nance, his partner. So, Tony might have been practicing this, during his off seasons. Who knows? You know what I mean? We really never know how much practice somebody has put into it. But Tony is obviously one of the best on the NFL level.
And the chemistry in the booth, if you're working with
I've heard they're really close. They go golfing.
They
say Tony's like a scratch golfer too.
He wins the celeb
all the time.
He won it last week.
Exactly. He's a beast.
By a lot.
Yeah, I know. I heard. So I do know that they're really good friends, and I'm sure that, he made sure that Tony was going to be ready when the time was for him to go to the booth.
I noticed they hired some ex-quarterbacks. The network did. I saw Ryan Leaf is doing analyst. He's doing games.
Right. Well, I think Ryan's
Pac-12
college,
or whatever.
He might be with college football, though. So ACC network is different.
Right. He's not with ACC. He's with ESPN, though.
Right. So he's with more specifically ESPN. But as far as ACC
who else did
quarterbacks,
the ACC
it's Tim Hasselbeck, Matt Hasselbeck, myself, and I think that's it.
Both of them are in ACC?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Tim has been working on ESPN NFL, one of the NFL shows on ESPN for a really long time.
Yeah.
And
Countdown,
something like that, Sunday NFL Countdown. And then Matt recently retired, I think a year or two ago, and he's obviously kind of in the same line of his brother. So both guys have played a really long time. They have a ton of knowledge. So it was good to see those guys at ACC kickoff because I was able to pick their brain and just see how they kind of prepare and all that kind of stuff.
The best part about the whole thing is that you're doing this all on your own terms, and you made the decision. You didn't get forced out of the league.
Yeah. So I actually
kept playing. Actually, you didn't tell us about the Chiefs.
Right. So I signed with Kansas City in February. Once I had the surgery on my knee, cleaned up my meniscus, I got healthy enough to go out and work out for the Chiefs. They brought me in February, and this is after 2 auditions with ACC Network, so I didn't know if I had the job with them or even the job offer at that time, and so I was still expecting to play football. Work out, they signed me, and obviously, as you know, with OTAs, that doesn't start until April. So I still had
That's the optional practices.
right optional or organized team activities
Okay.
during the spring. Same thing, but we had another 2 months pretty much before that started. So I just really wanted to give myself an opportunity to make a decision, like whether I wanted to keep playing football or I wanted to do ACC Network. That was my goal going into like this new year. Like once December 31st hit, I told myself like, man, create an opportunity to where you can choose to keep playing football or you can go into another career path, because I wanted to do journalism anyways. I got my degree in communications at Florida State.
Same
so
here.
I've always
I got it at a better school, but same thing.
of course, UM, right?
Yeah.
University of Miami, to be exact. Our arch rival in college, but now that I'll be covering the ACC, I got a ton of respect for them.
They're
and I always
all
have.
even.
Honestly.
You gotta be unbiased.
Yeah, I'm unbiased for everybody in the ACC, but I got my degree in that, and I knew it would be something I wanted to do post career. And now that I did go to Kansas City. I went there for 2 months.
You even
April
got a
and May.
crib out there, rented a crib out
I rented a spot, so I was pretty much set up, and I love Coach Reed. I love working with Chad Henne.
So you were competing with Chad Henne, who was the current backup, and it was him and who was the other guy?
Chase.
Chase.
He played at Marshall.
Yeah.
Chase. And so 2 great quarterbacks that I was competing against, and I feel like I had a good shot of earning that job. But the thing is, both of those guys were there the year before. They brought in Chad to be their backup. They paid him a lot of money. I think that this year they still owed him however much money, and my contract wasn't guaranteed. So I started looking at it like, hey, I didn't play last year. I didn't make basically any money as far as like a football contract. So of course you have investments and things to keep you going, but
smart people like you do.
Exactly, yeah. You save and you're still good. So I wasn't in the bind financially. It was just more so
I wanted mamas, none of that.
None of that. And so I really just wanted to give myself, the best opportunity come the fall to say, hey, I have a job. You know what I mean? I have not even a job. I have a career, and especially knowing that ACC Network was on the table. It's not like these jobs come around every so often. I mean, to me, it was more time. Time was of the essence. And I knew I had to make a grown man decision. Now, again, I enjoyed it when I was at KC. I felt like they were giving me a real shot to compete for that backup job. I was thinking maybe now that I'm much less expensive than the current backup, I might have a better shot if I play just as good or better than him.
That's always attractive.
Right, in training camp. But coming off of that surgery on my knee, not having a guaranteed contract, but also having a guaranteed contract with ACC Network on the table, they offered me in March. No, I'm sorry. They offered me... So April, May, they offered me in March, the first offer. And then I kept going April, May with Kansas City. And toward May, going into like phase 3, which is when you start having actual practices. You have 10 practices in phase 3 of OTAs. I went to Coach Reed's office and talked to him face to face and let him know that I decided to move forward with my next career, which was the ACC Network. And I think at first he was a little shocked, just because who really goes to a head coach in the NFL and tells them that they're not going to play anymore, right? And it was a hard conversation. I probably thought about this for like probably 2 months as far as like what I should do. And then once I made a decision, it probably took me a week to really muster up the courage to go and tell them. And so once I did it, felt better. The good thing that I'll always appreciate from a franchise, because when you tell a team that you don't want to play, they technically can just release you. Right, and of course, once you get released, it goes on TV, and just the perception is bad. It looks like, oh, EJ got released in May. Like, who gets released in May? And so when I did tell them that I didn't want to play anymore, they said, well, hey, just sign this retirement document. More or less, they still have my rights. They own my rights. If I wanted to go back to the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs franchise would still be able to have the first right of refusal to either keep me or let me go as a free agent, and then I could go somewhere else. And I appreciated that, you know what I mean? Because, again,
respect.
It was respectable, exactly. So that said to me that they had respect for me as I had respect for them. And, they helped me love football again.
I thought it was a really tough decision, but for you made it kind of clear how the idea of, you're tentatively going to have a job in the NFL as opposed to having a set job on TV.
Right.
You made a lot of sense out of it, and we're just like, it's a no-brainer. And this is my next career, whether I start at age 29 or age 35 or whatever.
That's what I wanted to do anyways.
So strike while the iron's
hot. And like
hot.
you said, man, like to me, it's not even a job. This is, like you said, it's a career.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm just going from a career in the NFL to now a job at a bank or a job at a wherever. this is another career that I feel like I can be really, really good at.
Transition into at a high level.
Yeah, and at a high level, and transition into it right from a career that I already had that was with football. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like I lived one dream out, and now I'm living my second. It's a blessing, man. It's crazy.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate that.
That's great stuff.
My man. Well, let me ask you a question. What's going on with you? How's everything going on with Matty Hundo? What's going on with you, man?
Living the dream.
Out here in beautiful Miami. Summertime. For you guys that don't know, Matt frequents Miami and Chicago. He's a man of many miles. He travels all over the world. If you guys haven't checked out his Instagram page, Hundo Eats, at Hundo Eats, HundoEats.
That's correct. If
Check
you're
it
looking
out.
for food recommendations.
It's amazing, man.
I don't just post everything I eat on there. I post stuff that's
Locations,
amazing.
yeah.
And I'm posting it for a reason is what
Right.
I'm saying.
Well,
like,
I'll
I don't
tell you
just
this.
take every meal and
I've been following that page for quite a long time, and anytime I'm in those cities, I go right to your page and just check out, like, hey, maybe Matt has a spot or a certain dish that I could try. So I appreciate you. For all you that are food lovers, which should be everybody, go check it out.
I know a little bit about food.
I see.
How'd I do today?
Bro, so what was the name of that place again? I'm sorry.
North Italia.
North Italia in Mary Brickell Village here in Miami. Delicious. We had salmon. We had
With
chicken.
like a faro pesto underneath the chicken.
Oh my God. It was like.
A faro pesto underneath the salmon.
Right. And well, we shared it first. So we had the salmon with whatever you call faro, okay? And then we also had chicken parm with some pasta. Rigatoni. And then before that, we had a kale salad, which was
maybe
delicious.
the best kale salad
Which was
ever.
delicious. So if you guys are in the Miami area or in the Brickell area, you have to check it out. Highly recommended.
Great location, great place to sit indoors or out.
Right, people watch and ton of activity going on over there, man. But what would you say as far as food? Since we're on that topic, what would you say is like your favorite spot or favorite dish, or like what do you
in Miami?
Yeah, well, not even like in the world. Like as far as like when you go to a restaurant, because I know you go to restaurants for an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like food to you is like an experience, almost like your guy Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace. You know, for me, I that's something I've always admired about you. Is like that kind of like helped me see a bigger view as far as when I do travel. Like go out and try food. Don't just go to Applebee's or
not even
Red Lobster. Like,
not even that,
the
but
chains.
like people will say, "Oh, I really like Ruth Chris Steakhouse."
Exactly.
So they
which
look
is great.
for the Ruth Chris in every city they go to.
Right, and you end up eating the
you're
same
not getting
thing.
a feel
or even
of that
Cheesecake
city,
Factory.
though.
Like for me, I'm a huge Cheesecake Factory fan. It's not even because of the cheesecake.
Yeah,
I love their
the
miso
food.
salmon. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know what I'm going to get. I know it's going to taste good. I know how it's going to be. But what would you say is something you look for when you go to like restaurants and stuff like that?
It's honestly like it's a combination of things. Sometimes I'm going somewhere literally for an experience.
Right.
And it's not about, oh, this is going to be the best food I've ever tasted.
Mm-hmm.
But you go to a place like Alinea in Chicago.
Right.
And it's a ridiculous price. It's impossible to get a reservation.
But is it worth it? Like as far as you're saying, the
experience
price is amazing.
They're bringing out balloons with strings attached to them,
Mm-hmm.
and the string and the balloon is dessert.
Oh, what?
And then when you eat it,
Wait, what?
the string is candy,
You
but it looks like a string.
You can eat the string.
The
okay, I got
balloon
it.
is like, I don't even know. It's
How they
like
do
some
it.
type of candy that they blew up into look like a balloon.
That's an experience.
And then you eat it, and when you eat it, it's all helium in it, so you start talking crazy to each other. Like
that's dope.
stuff like that. They're bringing out like a bowl with leaves, and it's on fire, and
Right.
it's like a fire in the backyard.
Right.
But then they have food underneath it that's
Right.
getting that smoky flavor from the leaves, and it's an
That sounds
experience.
amazing. You have
like
to take me, bro.
Stuff like this.
That sounds great.
It's crazy. So like I like trying stuff like that. Do I want to eat at a place like that every day? No,
Of course not. Right.
That's like a once every few months or once every 6 months.
And what's the name of that restaurant?
Alinea.
Alinea. Okay.
Yeah, it was the #1 restaurant in the U.S. A couple years ago.
Right.
And
Well,
it's still one of the top.
I got a funny story when we're talking about food experiences. All right, you ready for it? So I went to London last year.
I'll be there in a week.
Okay, so look, maybe you could try this place. I think I told you.
Oh,
about
you told
this.
me the dock place?
Yes. So I'm gonna tell our listeners here. So guys, I went to a restaurant in London. A friend of mine that lives in London, she's from there, and she said like, "Hey, let's go to this spot. Let's check it out." And so I said, "Yeah, of course." Like I was down, and I had no idea that it was a. All right, so let me just tell you what happened. So we get there. We walk in. It's a beautiful restaurant, although it's not. They kind of take you into a room first, okay? And you choose. They give you like a menu that you choose between if you want a meat, if you want, I guess, a fish, or if you want something vegetarian. and it's like a full course or 3 or 4 course meal
Yep.
for each one.
I'm cool with places that
It was amazing.
plan out your
I actually
food.
like that.
I'm fine with it. I like
it's
everything.
it's one of the few times I've done that, and I actually appreciated it because I don't have to like necessarily look at a menu to choose a specific
And
dish.
give me what you do well.
Exactly, and that's
They're
what they
gonna do
did.
well.
And the food was tremendous. But what I didn't realize is that they told us to leave all of our belongings, our cell phones, everything that we, I guess, had on our person in like a little cubby hole. So I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird. Like, I guess this is a high profile spot. They don't want people taking pictures.
Yep.
So
Like those parties you go to. But we'll get into
right,
that later.
LA, right? No, just kidding. But anyways, out comes one of the waiters, okay? And I didn't realize that he was blind until he got up close on us and introduced himself. And so I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, they have people that, have a disability that are still working. I felt like that was amazing. But he tells us to grab, like, basically he gets in front and we grab each other's shoulder as we're walking into this into the room. The room's pitch black. Bro, I didn't freak out then, but I was like, okay, this is
Like
dope.
you can't see the hand in front of your face.
I'm talking about it's black.
Yeah.
All right, it's like no light anywhere.
Yeah.
So he guides us to our seats. We sit down, and she had done this before too. So she was good. She was like, all right, this is cool. Like, we're talking, and I'm not a huge phobia guy, but I guess I do have a little bit of claustrophobia, which I think anybody does, especially I'm a big guy, so like MRI machines, they freak me out
My
at
dad.
first. Yeah, I mean, that's typical, you know what I mean? I had a bad experience at the combine, but we won't talk about that. But so I'm sitting down and, it's people sitting next to us and, we're talking and I'm fine. All right. The guy next to me though says, and he's an American guy, the guy next to me is like, oh, what's up, man? Good to have somebody else. Where you from? I'm telling him all this stuff. He was like, well, look, if you get freaked out, just look up to the top right corner. It's like a little dot of light. So if you get freaked out, just know you can look up there. But it freaked me out. It was the opposite for me. You know what I mean? Like, so once I saw that and I consciously started thinking
like that's freedom and that's all that's
for real, I almost felt like I was in like an MRI machine, or I felt like I was like in an enclosed area with no light. So I instantly freak out. I start sweating. I asked to leave, and of course I can't get up and walk out because I can't see in front of me. So if I get up and start running out of this place,
you might trip.
I might trip. I might hurt somebody.
Table.
Yeah, like somebody falls over on a knife. Like, who knows, right? And so I calmly say, I raise my hand, but still nobody can see, right? I know, but naturally.
Hold up. You raise your hand in a pitch black room with blind waiters.
Mind you, I'm freaking out.
But
listen, I'm freaking out. It doesn't matter, okay? So I do what came natural. I raise my hand. All right, then I said, sir, I forgot the waiter's name. Maybe it's David, maybe. I said, David.
You sure it wasn't Daniel?
Started with a D, nonetheless.
Okay.
Hey, D, can you come help me out, right? And so he comes over. He's like, hey, is everything good? I was like, listen, I just need to step out. I'm actually getting hot talking about it. I said, I need to step out. And I go to the restroom. My friend comes out. And she's like, yo, do you want to leave? It's all good. Like, it's not a big deal. We don't, it wasn't like it was a date, too. Like, we were just, like, friends, And so she was like, no pressure. We don't have to, like, hang out here. It's cool. And I was like, nah, you know what? I'm good. So for me, it was more of a thought of, like, I need to get over my fears. Because, it's funny when people are like, oh, you're afraid of the dark. But if people really put themselves in a situation where it's truly, like, pitch black dark, and I guarantee people couldn't sit in that for longer than 5 minutes. Because you get in your own mind. You start thinking all this crazy stuff. But nonetheless, the dinner was amazing. I do go back in. I sit down. I chill out. They bring out, some drinks, some wine and stuff. And the food was actually amazing. The thing that made it even better was that you can't see it. So like your senses and your and your taste buds,
your olfactory, your nose
exactly.
and your mouth,
your smell,
exactly. Use all that.
Use all of that to kind of see like, am I eating fish, or what type of fish is this, or what's this vegetable? So the 3 courses were great, and it was actually a really cool experience once I finished.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, food experiences. It's different than I want to go eat a good burger.
Right.
I mean, which is fine.
Which is cool.
That's just a different thing.
I agree.
Are you familiar with the Michelin Guide for food?
Not. No.
So there's only a couple cities in the U.S. that use it, but it's an old thing that Michelin, the tire company, created for food restaurants.
Okay.
And there's restaurants that have 3 stars, not many of them. There's 2 stars and there's 1 star.
Right.
And each star was based on, if you get 3 stars, it's a place you will travel to.
Right.
Like it's a destination to go eat.
Right.
Like there's places in Napa, like French Laundry.
Okay.
You hear like Drake talk about French Laundry.
Of course. Yeah. I've actually met the manager of French Laundry
when you were living out there.
I got his
That's huge.
contact. If we
That's
can,
huge because
we can
reservations
make that
there.
happen.
I've
That's
never
what he
been
told
there,
us.
and I actually need to
So
go.
I met him at like a dinner with Derek and some other quarterbacks. But if we're ever in Napa together, we got to go for sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
I need to go there.
Yeah,
that's an experience.
Exactly right.
That place, I'm not sure how many stars it has, but
Right.
I think it's a 3 or a 2.
Right.
And so those ones are the ones you travel to. Then there's ones that are worth making like that's the actual destination of the trip.
Like that's the reason you're going to go to French Laundry.
To go to Napa is to eat at French Laundry.
Exactly.
And then there's 2-star places which are like, oh, okay, if you're in that city, if you're traveling,
check this out.
This is a place to check out.
Got
and
it.
1-star is if you happen to be in that city, you live
Right.
there or something, it's worth checking out.
Well,
So, besides that, those are expensive restaurants though. They have even a price threshold and whatnot.
Right.
But then they have another guide which they came out with, which I really like. It's called the Michelin Bib Gourmand.
Okay.
Which these words don't mean anything, but it's a less expensive version of the Michelin restaurants.
Okay, so everybody.
Those are some of the best.
Really?
Like they have, and they
Just
have
like
them
straight spots, just like
They have them in most major cities in the U.S.
Got
The
it.
Bib Gourmand one, and you can find. If you follow that guide, that's a great
You're
guide
good.
to eat good, yeah.
Right.
And a lot of people are unaware of it.
I'm curious because I think our listeners would be curious about this too. I know, say when you go to a restaurant, you eat your dish and you finish and you're like overly stuffed, right? Do you feel like when the food is better prepared or more organic, it shouldn't necessarily make you feel overly like tired or lethargic?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've noticed that when I go to eat with you, these spots that are really nice, and it's not even about the dollar amount, right? It's just the quality and the experience. I feel like for now we ate about.
We just paid $30.
Right, $30. We split it. You know what I mean? But the food was delicious, right? But even now, we ate 2 hours ago or an hour and a half ago. I'm still hungry. Not still hungry, but it was
you're good.
I'm good, exactly. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's something that I guess that's more of a question. Of, would you agree? That if you eat better food, it's kind of like
higher quality food,
settles your stomach
better
a little more.
ingredients.
And
If you eat healthier, you don't get that
heavy feel,
sluggish.
Right. Yeah,
absolutely.
Stomach's all hanging over your pants and all that. But
So
enough about food, man. I'm curious. We got we just passed NBA free agency, right? We got to talk about this.
I love it.
We got to talk about this. First off, you're a Boston Celtics fan, okay?
Huge.
Through and through, right? They got my man Jay Tatum, baller, okay? Phenom, going to be a soon. I think he could be a Hall of Famer, I think. And I think a lot of people agree with that.
That's why they haven't traded him.
Right. But obviously Kyrie leaves Boston.
Fine, great. See you later.
Whoa. Don't.
I'll help him pack his bags. I'll give him a ride to the airport.
Come on. Don't do that, bro. Kyrie,
see you later.
Kyrie is I know
for Boston.
But wait, I know you know that he's an amazing player.
Absolutely.
We can't just dismiss him.
I don't
like that.
dislike him.
Kyrie leaving
he did
Boston.
Nothing for Boston.
Kyrie leaving Boston is, don't get me wrong, because they got Kemba Walker, and that's why I was trying to lead on to. They got Kemba coming in.
Who's not as good as Kyrie, but he's not that much below him.
I mean,
he's similar.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
I mean,
you're talking like 1A, 1B. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like it's not like a big step back.
Did they keep Rozier? Where's Rozier?
No. He was sign and trade, sent him to Charlotte. He's taking Kemba's job.
Got it. Okay. I like him too, man. He played well that playoff
he's
series.
Good.
But of course, I live in LA. So we got to talk about the Lake Show.
That's gonna be fun,
and we got to talk about the Clippers.
It's gonna be fun.
What did you think of the Clippers bringing in Kawhi?
Okay,
and
so
PG?
I'm sleeping at my parents' house. I'm visiting them. I'm up in Boston, and I woke up in the middle of the night to take a piss, and I checked my phone, and I had a notification that said Kawhi signs with the Clippers. And Paul George is going there too.
Right.
It was like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I was getting up at 6:30 to go skimboarding out at the beach.
Nice.
And I woke up at 4 and I couldn't get back to sleep.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. And I had a really long day. I was going to my boy Marv's party. It was a long day. I had the skimboarding. I couldn't sleep. I was like, I can't believe this just happened.
Right.
So that whole thing was crazy. I'd love to see the Clippers dominate LA and win a championship. They've been the bottom of the NBA for so long.
Just because
the Donald Sterling stuff.
Right, exactly.
I love Doc Rivers.
Right.
I've always been a big Doc Rivers fan.
Yeah.
Crazy that Doc Rivers is coaching Paul George, who used to go out with Doc's daughter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Knocked her up, if I remember correctly.
Really?
And then Paul ended up cheating on Doc's daughter with a Miami stripper, and now he has 1 or 2 children with the stripper.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean that.
He's coaching them now.
Yeah, well, I think nonetheless though, those two guys being on the same team, you add those guys with Pat Beverly, Harold.
You gotta love
And
having
then you
Pat
got the
Bev.
sixth man that's probably one of, besides Jamal Crawford, I think one of the best six men that the NBA has ever seen. And
Well, I mean, Lou Will might pass Jamal. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
His career
because
might
he's still
get past
young,
him.
he can still keep playing. I think they got a really good shot, but I mean, listen,
Montrez, yeah.
on the other side, you got the king, LeBron James.
Okay, so you're approximately 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
So you're you're LeBron's generation.
Correct. So I remember
I'm not a LeBron guy.
and that's fine. That's fine. I feel like I was kind of in the crossover between where Kobe was. Like I remember seeing Kobe go to the NBA announce. I can't remember how old I was. Maybe 7.
He
or
was
8.
my year.
Right, but I was
Kobe's
maybe,
my year of high school.
Got it. So I was maybe 7 or 8. That makes sense. So 8, 10-year difference. But I remember seeing that. So I've obviously seen Kobe's entire career. I remember seeing toward the latter ends of Michael Jordan's career, like the flu game. Passing by was it Brian Russell?
Brian Russell.
Yeah,
in
knocking
Utah.
down the J, holding up the form is amazing. But LeBron, man, to add who we got? We got AD coming over from the Pelicans, which we all kind of knew or kind of assumed. You got Boogie Cousins coming through.
Kuzma on the wing.
You got Quinn Cook coming from over at the Warriors, playing with a ton of confidence.
Really good backup
Great
point
player. Who else do they bring in? I can't remember. Nonetheless,
JaVale McGee.
Back. So I mean, you
They
add
have 2 or 3
bigs.
like good bigs.
They're deep. You know what I mean? And then they got some young guys that were really good too. You still got Caldwell Pope, who's a great shooter. You got the point guard that used to play for Boston. I hate that I'm forgetting his
Rondo?
name.
I don't think he signed.
No, he resigned. He resigned.
He did? That just
I saw it
happened?
recently. Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I saw that they were bringing Rajon back.
Wow.
So I mean, listen, as long as the King stays healthy, obviously we saw that ended up last year.
Let me break this down for you. I know Magic was before your time, but like they said, LeBron's gonna play the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So look at him playing the point and Magic playing the point. I mean, it's pretty.
Well, if you think
like,
about it,
LeBron's more athletic.
But think about this though.
Better defender.
Most people will say LeBron, because everybody tries to compare Bron with Kobe and Mike, right? Because they're the GOATs. But most people have always, like my dad, for example.
His style of play is more Magic.
My dad's a huge basketball IQ. He says it's more like Magic because he's tall, he's big. Magic
Handles the ball.
Magic could play the 1 through the 5. Bron can play 1 through 5. He can guard you. He can shoot you. He can run by you.
There's
he can
only a
dunk on
couple
you.
players in history that have been able to play 1 through 5.
Right, I know.
There are 2 of them.
Right. Well, look, let's go back to even KD. Obviously, he had the injury, but KD and Kyrie joining up in Brooklyn, I think that's going to be really interesting too.
Well, KD's going to be out for a lot of the season,
months. Yeah, but when he is healthy, and we all hope that he does come back the same guy, and I think he will. I think with rehab and the technology.
The problem
nowadays,
is that's the injury that
Kobe had.
Nobody has ever really fully come back from.
I think he can though, man.
I think so.
Yeah,
He's what,
can.
30,
He's
29?
young. Yeah, maybe. Well, he might be 30 or 31. I think he might be maybe a year or 2 older than me. I'm 29, so he might be pushing 31. But nonetheless, I mean, he's still super young, super talented. You got Russell Westbrook headed to Houston, added with his old teammate and
it doesn't
James Harden.
like on paper it doesn't make sense.
Well,
but
if you
they'll
look at
figure
it
out,
of course.
They're both great players.
I think the way that if you go back and this is just me in my opinion. If you look at how James played last year or the past couple of years when he's been doing his thing, triple doubles, like knocking like 50, 60 points and all that, I think he was shooting like that because he had to. His team wanted him to do that.
It was designed.
It was designed for him, so it wasn't like he completely had the green light. Now you add a Russell Westbrook, that adds another guy who's a triple double walking around. Like Russ gets on the court, it's a triple double.
Let's not forget that 2 years ago, when Chris Paul's first year, they should have won the championship if he didn't pull his hamstring. They were ready to knock out Golden State.
Yeah, true.
So with Harden and Paul playing together, it worked that year.
Right.
There's no reason why it. Although Paul makes more sense because he can knock down open threes,
well,
where Russ isn't.
Russ is really like a hybrid point guard. Like he can go by you, he'll dunk on you, but he can shoot too.
Russ was historically the worst shooter in history this season.
You have to show me some stats on that then because
the stats.
Oh, well, this season, sure.
This season, but his career, he's never been a good shooter.
Bro, all right. The games that I've seen, terrible though.
Terrible shooter.
These are. But see, these. All right. So this is. Me.
I love Russ too.
This is me.
I love Russ.
Listen, this is me as an athlete saying this. First off, nobody's terrible. First off, I'm just correcting your adjectives here.
He shoots in the 20%.
Okay.
For 3.
And he's a multi-year all-star.
Yeah, because he does everything else really well.
And that's fine.
That doesn't mean he's a good shooter.
But you gotta say terrible.
He's a below-average shooter.
And that's fine.
That's a fact. He shoots
I'm
below the average NBA shooter.
I'm just checking the adjectives, bro. That's it.
All right.
That's it. Because I dislike when we as
If
fans,
I were to say
fan,
EJ Manuel is a terrible quarterback,
For sure.
that's coming from a kid who barely started in high school.
that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
you-
So
right?
to me, yeah,
So-
I'm just like, that's fine if that's somebody's opinion, right? But I just think we just got to change the verbiage. That's all I was trying to say. Still love you, bro.
Yeah, if I'm accurate, I would say, and it's true, he's a
Right,
below
stat
average NBA
wise,
shooter.
sure. The numbers say that, and numbers do not lie.
The
But
number-
nonetheless,
the numbers?
yeah, that's my Virginia accent, right? But nonetheless, I think that he adds a huge, like obviously he's a huge asset coming to Houston. I mean, they already have some really good other players in Capella and PJ Tucker. So I think the West is very deep. I mean, Golden State got the guy from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So it's gonna be interesting, man. I think these guys are gonna be really good.
Absolutely.
I'ma keep it 100.
All right, EJ Manuel, you ready to keep it a hundo?
Let's go.
If you had to win one NFL game this season, who would you want playing quarterback?
The Tom Brady.
You still going with Brady?
Of course. At however old he is, 41. Yeah, going with Brady.
If you had to win Game 7 of the NBA Finals, and you had to if you could pick one NBA player to be on that team, who would it be? They're all healthy. KD's healthy. LeBron's healthy.
Man, Kevin Durant.
You going with
I'm a
KD?
fan, yeah, bro. Honestly, I love them all, but like KD is different, bro. And he's from the DMV, so I'm definitely
Yep.
gonna go with KD.
Good stuff. If you could visit one city in the United States that you've never been to, where would you go?
Somewhere warm, so I'd say anywhere. All right, I'd say like Cannes or Cons or however you
No.
pronounce it.
In the U.S., I said.
Oh, in the U.S.
Do it again. Just start over again.
I would say in the U.S. because I feel like I've been everywhere, man. And I live in L.A. and that was one of my favorite cities.
Okay, so I'll give you an easier out.
Yeah.
There's cities you've been to that you like played in, but you didn't really get to see.
Okay,
so you can
easily.
use one of those.
Easily Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
Easily. Like I think we played there my second year.
September. I remember because I was in Chicago that day and I
Yeah.
couldn't make it to the game.
Yeah. We
It was
played
like
there my second
September
year.
10th, 2015.
Early in the year.
15.
It was like
or
the
13.
opening game that Sunday.
13?
14.
Yeah.
It was my second year. We actually
That's the only time you've ever been there.
Yeah, we were huge underdogs. They had Jay Cutler. They had a bunch of good players. Forte. They had a good defense, and we beat them. So I would say Chicago. I really didn't get a chance to like really see the city, although we stayed there overnight, but I didn't get to see anything.
I think we can make that happen.
I know you're a Chicago
I live
guy.
there.
Yeah, I know exactly. Surprised I haven't been yet.
I know. If you could visit, same question. If you could visit any city in the world that you've never been to, where would you go?
Man, I think I would want to go like Jerusalem.
Yeah?
Yeah, a couple friends of mine. Actually, Deshaun was telling me he went to Jerusalem. Deshaun Watson. He had went to Jerusalem on a trip, and he said it was amazing just seeing these historical places. When we talk about history, obviously I'm from Virginia, so I love history as far as like our U.S. history. But I mean, we talk about Jerusalem. We talk about one of the most holy cities of all time. You know what I mean? So I think I would definitely want to go to Jerusalem.
You been to Jamestown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to go all the time when I was in school.
I've never been. Is it like
Actually, bro,
still
listen,
like they make it look like it's like
really
old school?
It's
or-
really cool. Yeah, people still dress up. They act like
They
they're
do the
living
colonial
whole thing.
stuff?
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think especially like when you have like some of your nieces and nephews or kids and stuff, take them out with you because as a child growing up, it kind of made me love history and appreciate it. Just knowing that this is how people lived 400 years ago.
It's kind of how it is where I come from.
Yeah, in Boston, of course, the same way.
We have houses in my hometown that have been there
From 1700s,
1600s.
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
you go there on field trips and they're churning butter and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, seeing like, man, that's how people live. Like
Yeah.
we got it so good now.
Last question.
Yep.
It's not a death row meal because you've already done a death row meal with
Yeah.
me. It's the Last Supper. You can invite 3 people, people you've never met,
Okay.
an athlete, a rapper, and an actor.
An athlete, rapper, and actor.
Yep.
Right. And again, these are people I've never met.
Somebody you'd want to meet.
All right, so an actor. I'm sorry.
Current,
Actor.
not like an old retired person.
An actor, easily Denzel Washington, because I know he would come. He'd probably have some good food, and then
He'd have great
give some,
stories.
Yeah, stories and wisdom, and I actually wouldn't mind getting into acting one day. Athlete.
I'll talk to Denzel for you.
Yeah, do
because
that
I've
for me.
met him. So
Did you really?
yeah, in Italy.
Oh wow! You
Yeah.
never told me about this
I have told you. I actually told the story on
on the pod.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
That's fire, bro.
Yeah.
Okay. As far as an athlete, I want to pick a female athlete too. That's like a beast.
One person comes to mind when you say that for me.
I know. I think Serena Williams,
Yeah.
right? But
She's a legend.
yeah, she is a legend. I mean, yeah, she's
The
amazing.
most dominant athlete of
Yeah,
possibly of
I
my
guess I didn't want to
generation.
say Serena because I don't want to make it seem like I was like, oh, I'm trying to hit on Serena. I'm not. Like I honestly just.
This isn't about that.
Of course, yeah.
This is
I
who
just
you
love
wanna have
her.
a good combo
I love
with.
her as an athlete, man. She's amazing. I think that she's been able to stay at such a high level for such a long time. That's miraculous, truly.
So is it her or no?
I'd say Denzel, Serena, and the third one was a musician, you said?
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg, bro.
He'll be lighting up the whole meal.
Snoop Dogg, man. Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Thanks for keeping it a hundo.
Always keeping it a hundo. Appreciate you having me, bro.
All right, we got to go get another workout in.
Yes, sir.
Make sure you check out EJ on the new ACC network starting August 22nd. He'll be on a show called The Huddle. That's 2 days before the college football kickoff, which is Miami playing against the Florida Gators on August 24th. So we'll see what EJ's got to say about that. Like I said, I'll have a pod coming up soon about my travels to Northern Europe. I went to London, Copenhagen, Ireland, Northern Ireland, and I definitely like some places more than others. So stay tuned. I'm going to keep it a hundo with you about those locations. Thanks for listening to Keeping It a Hundo.